Good evening and welcome to the Maple Plain City Council meeting. It is 7:07 on February 26th, and I call this meeting to order. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I am looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I would motion that, but I would ask that accounts payable removed from consent agenda.
Okay, move accounts payable from the consent agenda.
I believe we're also going to pull the February 5th, 2018 City Council workshop minutes for, Bobby, I'm not quite sure how to phrase this. Can we table it?
Yep, I'd table it till our
Table it.
March business meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Table the February 5th, 2018 City Council workshop minutes.
Okay. Any other additions, corrections?
I second with those adjustments.
Okay, so we have a motion by Cahill, a second by Broda with the changes to pull accounts payable and table the February 5th City Council workshop minutes until March. All in favor? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. So on the consent agenda for this evening, we have the December 18th City Council business meeting minutes and the December 18th City Council workshop minutes. Looking for a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Moved by Fay,
Second?
second by Cahill. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, those are approved. And next we will look at accounts payable.
I just had a couple questions. One, what is OPG3? What service are they providing? It was like design software.
Do you know what page it was on?
It was the
Councilmember
very-
Cahill?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to note that one.
Page 4 of the expense.
I'm pretty sure that's an
Accounts payable.
annual fee that we have for Laserfish, a document maintenance service that we use within City Hall.
Okay. And then the Belay host, the email filtering,
Yep,
there was a question earlier about whether we still need that with Google.
we
Have you-
do. I did.
Okay.
I talked to Jimmy. It has something to do with, yes, Google has it, but they maintain and keep another one for their access so they can get to it. It's very complicated, but I did get walked through that, so we do still need that Belay host component. with
Just,
it.
thank you.
Yep.
Bobby, could you explain what the Benjamin Franklin plumbing inspections were?
Absolutely. We had a, this was last year, this will be moved to our 2017 budget. Unfortunately, there's a few items on here, including this one, that we got invoices late to. We've already notified our auditors of this exact payment, but still have it here. These are for I&I inspections that we did on residential properties last year, on Joyce Street specifically.
When was the invoice received?
I couldn't tell you off the top of.
So we actually had these invoices, but they did not do the inspections correctly. So I had them go back and they had to check several properties for sump pumps. And they just finished with that. So that is why they are now being paid, because they completed their work.
This is in addition to the ones that we approved.
Well,
last
these are the
fall.
ones that you guys did approve, but the work wasn't done sufficiently to the city standards, so we held from paying these properties until the work was done to a sufficient standard.
Any other questions regarding accounts payable?
On the turtleneck printing,
Correct.
looked like we had some business cards.
Correct.
How many business cards did we get for $140?
Usually get 500 apiece. I'm not sure if it was just Matt and Harry or if there was another staff member included in there. But I know for sure it was Matt and Harry. And you get 500 apiece with them. They're local. We could probably get them cheaper somewhere else, but there's the local element of them being around here that we typically try to show some ability to get them some jobs like that.
And then I had a question on the Bryant Rock products. Was that actually, it says north side and Rainbow Rock for the baseball fields?
Correct.
Was that done in the middle of winter?
Yeah, if you actually drove by Rainbow, there were big piles of rock out there about a week and a half ago. There were big piles of rock right in the infield there.
They look like big snow piles right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Don't dig at them.
you got rock there right now, but it's all the same.
All right. No further questions on accounts payable? All right, looking for a motion to accept accounts payable.
So moved.
Moved by Broda,
Second.
second by Fay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Pose same sign. Okay. Next item of business is our city engineer, January and February monthly report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In the packet is our monthly report, and some of the major items that we worked on over these last January and February include the well number 4 project, which is an agenda item for later in the meeting with the final payment requests. Once again, there is still some control work that I know Public Works is coordinating with the control contractor, which is a separate contract from municipal builders. The 2018 street improvements have been keeping us the most busy, and that's something where we'll have the plans for approval here later tonight. So we worked on design and attended various meetings, and most recently the open house that was held on February 20th. Elam Properties, that we exchanged some money, some information. But it's worth a lot, that information, worth like gold. But yeah, we exchanged information with the developer's engineer, and so that's some information there. And then finally, miscellaneous items. We prepared some figure drawings for the comp plan work that the city planner and assistant city administrator is working on. And we also forwarded some water supply information that is kind of part of the comprehensive plan process that Public Works and city staff are working on. So those are the major items, and I can answer any questions at this time.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Looking for a motion to accept the city engineer's January and February report.
So moved?
Moved by Cahill,
Second.
second by Fay. Any further discussion?
Hi, John.
By Broda.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Wrong person. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Next item of business is the city planner, January and February monthly report.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. For the reports provided in the packet are for actually December, January, and February.
That's
During that time, planning was working on a couple of different projects. We're working on the Baker Park property redevelopment project. That's one we've been heavily involved in, working with the potential developer and their consultants on just working through some of the real conceptual development for that property. Staff's also had a meeting with the downtown developer for discussions on redevelopment of that. And then we've been working with staff for development of the comprehensive plan and preparation for the meetings we had, the joint meeting we had with council and the planning commission. Outside of those projects, which are kind of focal projects that we've spent some time on, we continue to do just day-to-day planning and zoning, working on things like some of the ordinance updates that you'll see coming through at the Planning Commission meeting, and then also just talking to various property owners about still properties that we have in the city. My favorite property, the Spring Avenue property, has had some activity on it again. We've actually looked at a couple of concept plans for that property, and there's some interested parties again on that property, as well as the larger vacant property off of Bud Street. I've had some questions on that. That's a 3-acre parcel on the west side of Bud, and so I don't know what's generating the activity, but there's been a little bit of activity. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the two reports.
Any questions? All right, looking for a motion to accept those reports.
So moved.
Moved by Cahill,
Second.
second by Fay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Next will be our West Hennepin December and January monthly reports.
Honorable Mayor and council members, before you is the December and January activity reports. I'll just kind of end the year out with the December report, and then we'll just go into the January 2018. As far as the end of the year of 2017, we ended the year with 8,266 incident complaints. 3,055 were in Maple Plain and 4,163 were Independence. We had a great year, very active, full staff police department, and we were 447 incidents less than last year, but I don't see that as a bad thing. I see that as a positive moving forward with more proactive police work out and about. That the better we do our jobs, if we do see a decrease in calls or requests for service, that's a good thing. That means we're out doing what we need to do. So we ended the year great. I don't, unless you want me to, go into great detail in December. Any specific cases come to mind for you? Otherwise, I'll move into January 2018. The first month of the year, we handled 516 incident complaints, 202 in Maple Plain and 283 in Independence. It was an interesting start to the year. As it always is, and seems like we always end interesting too as well. But as far as calls related to Maple Plain, on January 9th, a business in the 5,000 block of Pioneer Creek Drive did have a burglary / theft case in which the business was missing their petty cash or a money box, and were unable to locate it. Somebody obviously stole it. We were pretty fortunate there wasn't as much money as there was in it the evening before. We were doing our investigation on it. There wasn't any forced entry into the building, so we're looking into leads in that particular case. Just wanted to note on January 12th, one of our officers did an escort. He was on routine patrol right on the border of Maple Plain and Medina near the Holiday Station, and he saw a pregnant female walking outside of the business, kind of walking around waiting for her ride home, and it was -7 degrees outside, and the business was no longer open. So he stopped in, recognized the person as an employee at one of the businesses. What's going on? And she said she can't get a hold of her boyfriend. He's drinking somewhere, won't answer his phone. So he ended up giving her a ride home back to their apartment just so she didn't have to stand outside in the cold. On January 12th, we had a pretty serious stop arm violation in the 5,000 block of Main Street East in Maple Plain. First student bus driver reported that while the bus was stopped, the red lights were activated and the stop arm was out. Kids were just about to step off the bus when a car passed her on the right. She was able to get the license plate number and description of that vehicle. Through our investigation, our investigator drove to the person's home out west, about 25 miles from here, learned that he worked in Hamel, then drove over to Hamel and found the vehicle parked in the parking lot of the business, and the suspect was inside the car texting away just on his lunch break. And he admitted that he did the violation, and he admitted passing on the right and said he was unable to stop as he has a hole in his brake line, but he hasn't had it fixed since that day. So we do have charges pending for the gross misdemeanor failure to stop for a school stop arm violation. So good work on the bus driver's part in reporting it, getting the license plate number, description, and by our investigator to do that case. On January 13th, we had another pretty serious call in the 5200 block of Bryantwood Drive. We got call of a suicidal male with a gun to his head, pulling the trigger, stating that he wanted to end his life because of some relationship issues with him and his wife. Unfortunately for him, he was doing this all within the sight of his children, and he did put the gun away before we arrived there, but we were able to take it. But because of his actions, we're criminally charging him with child endangerment for that case, because no young child should have to sit there and see that their father is doing something like that, so the charges are pending on that. On January, I'm not going to do that one. I was going to do that one, but might end in more questions. January 30th, we had a medical. This one's in the 5,000 block of Sunset Lane. It's not in Maple Plain, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. We were called to a female hearing voices, and she intentionally stabbed herself multiple times in her neck. They were extremely deep, very bloody, and this is not the first time that this has happened. She was very, very close to not making it. Fortunately for her, she stabbed herself in the right places in your neck. We spent a lot of time with the ER doctors and the family trying to get her civilly committed, because this has happened multiple times. And she, at the time, about a week later, she was out, and we were again doing escorts to her parents' house to get her property out of the residence. I do have concerns for this leading to something more serious, and we've done our part, but when they keep getting released, there's nothing much we can do on that. And then January 31st, 7:59 a.m., 4800 block of Perkinsville Road, right at the corner of Perkinsville and 19, just north of Maple Plain. Vehicle in the ditch on one of those snowy mornings. Driver got lost, ended up turning around in a driveway, and he had a trailer on his vehicle and he couldn't get turned around, so he thought he'd just drive through the 3-foot snowbank at the end of the driveway as fast as he could. And when myself and Officer Howes got there, he was a .25 alcohol concentration at 8 in the morning. That's probably why his judgment wasn't very good about crashing into the snowbank. So, as you've heard me say many times before, there are people driving around early in the morning that are highly intoxicated, and fortunately for him, he didn't hurt anybody, but he did go to jail on that offense. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on the January or end of year December 2017 activity report.
Anyone have any questions for Chief? All right, with that, looking for a motion to approve the end of the year and January activity
So
reports. Moved by DeLuca,
Second?
second by Broda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Post same sign. All right. Next, City Administration, January and February reports.
I'm gonna do Public Works first, if that's all right, Mayor.
Perfect.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Public Works, it's not November as it says up atop of the memo, but it is for January and February. And being the winter months, Public Works has been busy with snow plowing of roads and sidewalks. They had some repairs done on their water heater and entry heater in the water treatment plant with UMR. Public Works worked with T-Mobile for their system upgrades on the water tower. They've also been working with Stantec on the 2018 road project prep and plans. They did some ball field rocking at Rainbow Fields and Northside Park softball field. Water treatment plant tank maintenance and cleaning. This is a good time of year to do some of that given the weather. And also they've been working on the 2018 water supply data sheet, end of year reporting that has to be done through the state with water used and the different properties and how much water is used in residential, commercial, industrial properties and whatnot. They've also been doing some cleaning at the warming house at Rainbow Park and bathroom cleaning. They contacted Vesco for replacement of CL2 chlorine lines in the water treatment plant and calibrating these CL2 meters. So this is just tentative maintenance that has to be done on it every so many years on the water treatment plant. We have the original lines in the water treatment plant that we did in when this water treatment plant was built. So typically they get done every 4 to 5 years, and we've been able to extend ours out all the way. Well, the water treatment plant has been around for a little while now, so way past the 4 or 5 year mark. And then good news is that Public Works received a passing test level results from independent lab ACZ Labs, confirming that we are properly addressing radium levels from well number 4 when blended with well number 3. And that's really the tricky part here is we had well 3, and our well 3 water's in great shape. We had some high radium levels in the past there, but now we're adding a whole nother element of well number 4, and mixing that water is, that's a little bit, you want to make sure that you do that correctly. It's another element, another variable in there, and we're doing that effectively, which is really important. So that's what Public Works has been up to in January and February, and I'd be happy to answer any questions from City Council.
I do have one question, just because I've been asked by at least 2 different residents. Why did we do the ball field rock in the winter and have to plow and do that now? Was there a reason? They were worried about the parks being plowed to get the rock dumped onto the ball fields.
Oh, sure. I'll check with them on that logic on why they wanted to do it at that time period. It might have been they just had a discount and it was cheaper to do it at this time of the year, but we'll have to wait and see. I guess I'll have to ask them and go from there on that one.
And just if you would also remind business owners and residents about how plowing the sidewalk works, who's responsible
Yeah.
and timing, because that seems to be another one that comes up
Absolutely.
over and over.
Yes. So there are really only a few sidewalks that the city does maintain. There's I can only think of just a very couple of them, but in like downtown areas where there are businesses are responsible for maintaining everything from the curb to their business door. So the entire sidewalk and that curb. So, and I understand too that there are times where the plow trucks go by and push snow up on the curb and on the sidewalk. That is still the maintenance responsibility of the business owner to clear that off for their residents. So I know that that's been a question that staff has fielded before. Who does maintain that? It is the businesses. They do maintain those sidewalks. Public Works does not.
So in particular, the one up by the library?
Correct.
Is that the city, or is that
No.
Hennepin County? The library's responsible
The
for that?
library is responsible for that.
Okay, that's
Yep.
what I thought.
Yep.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Anyone else have any questions regarding the Public Works? We'll approve both of yours together, if that's okay.
Yep. Nope, that
Okay.
works perfect.
So next is the administration, I believe.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I just took down a few brief things for what City Administration has been up to the last few months. Staff has hosted and shared communications and received input for the 2018 street reconstruction project, which entails Independence Street and Howard Avenue. Staff has continued working on potential development opportunities throughout the city. Staff, as you can see on these on the agenda tonight, has continued working on amending many city ordinances. We do have 3 of them on the agenda tonight. Staff has begun working on the new city website. There was another, I know Nicole did another conference call with website developers today and learning more information on how we can build our website. So that's really good news. Staff has completed the city audit process at the end of January. We did have our auditors at Abdo, Aiken, Myers come out for 3 days, or 2.5 days, and conduct a very thorough background into our 2017 financial year. Staff has been continuing to work on a long-term financial plan for the city. So this would entail, I know we've done our capital improvement plan in the fall, but this would also then add more pieces in terms of what are our financial limitations, what can we do financially, not only for street reconstruction projects, but facility maintenance and whatnot. And then, of course, the ever-looming 2040 comprehensive plan has been keeping staff occupied. We've got this new water report that is very interesting, that it takes a lot of time from a lot of different staff members, but we are looking at trying to get a public gathering to get some public feedback on our 2040 comprehensive plan in the coming days, and hopefully completion of the entire comprehensive plan at the end of October of this year. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions pertaining to the January and February city administration reports.
Any questions for staff? I don't have a question, I do have a comment.
Sure.
Bonnie from Abdo called, and she was very complimentary of the staff for your work with the audit. She was commented that you were very prepared, very responsive, and she really appreciated working here, and kudos to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
that. All right. With that, looking for a motion to approve the administrative reports.
So moved?
Moved by Cahill,
Second.
second by Broda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Next will be items of new business. We'll begin with the Hennepin County Sports Grant Agreements. We'll turn that over.
Thank you, Honorable Honorable Mayor and City Council. Oh, that's good. What you have before you is a youth sports grant. So Nicole worked with the Park Commission and with the Orono Baseball Association and the Orono Softball Association, and was able to put together $1,100 for a grant, which would be matching funds. $800 came from the Orono Baseball Association, and $300 came from the Orono Softball Association to get some materials to help out Rainbow Park and the fields that we have there. Some of the materials that this grant money would go towards would include pitching mounds, bases, anchors, pitching rubbers, and rakes for the Rainbow and Northside Parks ball fields. So this was a really great project that Nicole and the Park Commission worked on. The grant is for an amount of $3,715. It comes from the Hennepin County Youth Sports Grant opportunity that came out. And there's a few things that we need to do. We need to provide some messaging and marketing materials regarding the project in advance for approval from the county. But how this would work is we would get this money after we purchase these materials. So we don't get the money up front, this $3,715. We would buy some of these things, and then we would get reimbursed from the county. So this was a great project. There is no city money tied to this. This is just a great grant that we get, that Nicole and the Park Commission worked on to improve the ball fields in the community. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions pertaining to this grant agreement.
So we will just see this as an in and out in the accounts payable then?
Yep,
Get
it-
money from baseball and softball?
Yep, it'll be on the accounts payable.
Just so when we ask questions.
You know what, we might even put Hennepin County Youth Sports Grant
Perfect.
in the memo line, just so you know, hey,
Yeah.
you know, this is what this money was for, and then you'll know as council that this is a reimbursement item right away at that point.
That would be great.
And I just want to thank you, Nicole, for your work on this. I had a chance to see it from the commission level, and it started with some requests from the associations and the residents, and you took it upon yourself to find a grant and run with it and come back, and so you did a really good job with this. So thank you for that and for being mindful of the money savings for the city. So.
Do we-
We do need a motion to approve it.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. With that, looking for a motion to approve the Hennepin County Sports Grant Agreement.
So moved.
Moved by Broda,
Second?
second by DeLuca. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Thank you. Next item of business is ordinance 290, removing employee liquor licensing requirements for establishments with liquor licenses.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. This ordinance and the next ordinance pertains directly to private businesses within the community that sell alcohol within the community, and they sell on-sale liquor. So this would pertain to any establishment where you could go in and have a meal, have alcohol, or just alcohol in general. We have existing ordinance that states that any employee that would work for one of these establishments needs to get a proper criminal background check by West Hennepin, where really the only way that they could be denied working at this establishment is if they have a previous criminal background history that includes selling to underage minors alcohol. As a result, staff has taken it upon itself, and also while working with City Council through a workshop, with the direction of removing the language that permits city establishments that do serve alcohol to get each individual employee have to go through a background check with West Hennepin. At this time, that's what we're looking to do. So Ordinance 290 is to remove that criminal background check element and strike this ordinance from our city ordinance code book. Part of the reason why some of this came about in a workshop was there was a conversation looking at the requirements of hiring someone to serve alcohol in the first place. Establishments do have to abide by all state and federal laws when serving alcohol. And this conversation came up of whether this was needed or not. There was some discussion where some council members felt that, this has worked in the past. Why are we looking to strike this from the city code? And other council members that felt that this was duplicating already mandated requirements by the state and county. The direction received from staff was to move forward with a proposed ordinance that would strike this language from the city code. And this is the first of two tonight that would look at altering that employee liquor license requirements. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions pertaining to ordinance number 290, licensing intoxicating liquor, licensing of employees.
Any questions?
Well, one of my questions or concerns last time is I don't know the state statutes or county statutes around this. So it is confirmed that basically what's being enforced at a local level is also being enforced at a county or a state level. So,
Yes. Yep.
So that is for sure. Okay.
Chief, do you have a horse in this race?
Yeah, I've been here 21 years, and I've done numerous of these checks throughout 21 years, and I don't know of any single person we've ever denied to have a job in the city of Maple Plain based upon a criminal background check. I do think this is a good move to put the liability back on the business owner to do their own background checks, to do their own reference checking. I think there was a time, I don't know if it's the last couple of years, but there was a time that anybody that worked at any establishment selling alcohol, West Hennepin, they felt did all of their checks for them, and they didn't need to do any reference checks. I mean, part of our process is we had to actually call references. My police officers did in the office, had to call references and ask for other references to see if these are good people, if they should be able to serve alcohol. And I don't know that was getting done by the employer. It was just, what West Hennepin and the city will take care of that. I think this is a good move. I think the history of it came many, many years before I started working here, is that there were a couple of establishments that were hiring some people that probably shouldn't have been serving alcohol. That's what I hear. And so that this ordinance got put in. I feel very comfortable and confident that this system will work, plus take the liability of some of these people off the hands of us and the city on whether or not they should be serving the alcohol. If not, we can always put it back on, but I think it's fine to do this. I do not know of any other city that does this. I've done a lot of research myself on it, trying to see, and I don't know anybody else that does it.
Thanks.
So.
Any further discussion or questions? Okay, with that, since it's an ordinance, it's a roll call vote, I believe.
Correct. If
The
we,
motion is.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, we didn't.
I move then for the.
Motion by Froda.
Yeah.
Second.
Second by Cahill. Any further discussion?
I would like to say that I really don't see this as a liability issue, and I'm not really sure that, I think this is a issue that we're trying to find a solution to that doesn't really have a problem. This has worked for a number of years, and I don't know how you judge or determine deterrent. You know, you can't ever prove that the fact that this ordinance existed, that somebody didn't hire somebody that they knew wouldn't pass that background check. So the lack of having somebody not pass it, in my view, I'll turn around and say that means the ordinance is working. So I am not in favor of changing this ordinance.
And this is kind of tough for me. I can understand that. I think the thing that really I struggled with was that police time is being used for something like this, and really, everywhere else it's on the shoulders of the business to do it. So from a resource standpoint, I just really struggled with keeping this ordinance in. So I can understand where you're coming from, though, Mike. So anyway.
And I would echo Rhoda's concerns as well. As I think one of our goals is to be small and efficient, and I think this over-regulates our local businesses. They want to be in compliance to stay in business, so I think it's a good thing to put it back on them.
I concur.
Any further discussion?
With that, we will take a roll call vote then.
Councilmember Cahill.
Aye.
Councilmember Fay.
Aye.
Councilmember DeLuca.
Nay.
Mayor Moskowski.
Aye.
Councilmember Broda.
Aye.
The ayes have it 4-1.
Right. Our next item of business is ordinance number 291, ordinance to eliminate the city oversight of employee training in establishments with an on-sale liquor license.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. This is the second of the two ordinances pertaining to city establishments or just private establishments within the city, looking at individual employees and requirements that they need to serve alcohol. This ordinance would strike the training that individual employees would need in order to serve alcohol within any city business. It's part of our code that if you are getting hired at an establishment, the city would need to approve their training that they received, liquor training, in order to do so. And simply this code removes that requirement separately from the previous ordinance. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions pertaining to that.
Any questions for staff?
Any questions? All right. Then again, this is an ordinance vote, so we will, looking for a motion.
So
For- Moved by Cahill,
Second?
second by Fay. Any further discussion?
Well, you knew I was gonna say something. I don't think these two ordinance changes, though, need to be tied together. I think you can't have one without the other. And the fact of the matter is, giving oversight to the fact that at least those people that we now haven't background checked are trained, does seem like at least a prudent step on the part of this council.
And I think it kind of puts a liability on us. So if we've approved training and then someone sells illegally, it said, well, city council said their training was good enough. And having worked in food service, I think the businesses know it's important to stay in compliance. And so I think they're going to take it seriously if they want to stay in business.
Hard to stay in compliance when there's no
Mhm.
ordinance that says you have to train them.
Yeah, but they want employees who understand the law. I mean, if you're in food service, you're trained. I've worked for several establishments, and it's like the first thing you get trained on.
This actually is the one I was more interested in your take on, Chief Grails. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on it. But.
Well, I think the phrase that I read is that training shall be provided by an organization approved by the council and shall be approved by whips. I don't know that that's ever happened. I do know that West Hennepin, currently it's Officer Ben Raskin, we do provide training. We send out letters to all the businesses that say, hey, if you have new employees that want to learn about how to properly serve check IDs, we do that on an annual basis anyway. So I think that's kind of moderately received. Probably only 20% of the businesses or the employees show up, or typically it happens is when we do our compliance check and somebody gets arrested, then it's the big massive push for we need more training. Then we host an extra one or an additional one, and then we'll have that particular business show up a little bit more than others. So we have it, we do it. It's just, I don't know that I want to approve the training that they have to take through West Hennepin, or maybe the city does. We do provide it. We do have a training for them, so.
if this condition were removed, would you still continue to offer that on an annual basis as an optional training? or-
Yes.
Okay.
I think to Councilmember Cahill's liability issue, I think that's important because that degree of due diligence, it's, as long as it continues and it's part of your standard operating procedure,
Mhm.
so to speak, then we're being proactive
We are.
in trying to encourage training, so to speak.
Mhm.
And so I think that kind of eliminates that small degree of liability that you
Mhm.
might see. So I'm in favor of striking it.
Any further discussion regarding eliminating this?
Right, with that, we'll take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Fay,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLuca,
Nay.
Mayor Moskowski,
Aye.
Councilmember Broda,
Aye.
Councilmember Cahill.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 4-1.
Thank you. All right, our next item of business is our ordinance number 292, our fee schedule.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I hope you guys enjoy ordinances. This is the third one of the night, so this is a special treat. All of City Council, I know you guys have seen a draft of this fee schedule at one point or another. I do want to point out there is one change in this ordinance that is pretty glaring, and that is there's an alcohol license at the end of this that we were going to increase from $250 to $500 because it is below the average anywhere right now. We're so far below. We cannot do that as part of this fee schedule. It has to go through a whole nother separate process where we send letters out to all establishments that do receive this liquor license, and therefore, given the time to pass this ordinance in itself to get this fee schedule done, we would look at doing that as a separate process, but still move forward with passing all the other fees in this fee schedule. Otherwise, it's our standard fees that we charge. Many of them do not experience increases, some of them do. But I don't believe we've added any fees from years previous. It's strictly been just looking at what is the average in surrounding areas. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions pertaining to Ordinance 292, looking at our city fee schedule.
I have just a clarification to make sure I'm interpreting it correctly.
Yep.
On page 76 of the package, where it says residential building permit fees.
Correct.
So we're changing that from fixed to may require plan review. So is there only a fee if it requires a plan review? Or is it still the 100 and then plus additional?
So there's a couple of different things. If there'd be $100 prepayment for if your project needed plan review, you need to put $100 deposit down, and that is if you back out and we've reviewed the plans, that $100 covers the cost that we've spent to have the plans reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
But that $100 is then deducted off the total plan review. So it's not a double charge there where we're like taking $100 and then we're going to give you a plan review charge. No, we subtract that $100 from the plan review charge.
Okay. So to that point, would it make sense to have, like some of the other charges say $100 in escrow? Does it make sense to word it that way so people know that are refundable or? Because to me it sounds like, oh, I don't owe anything.
Oh, okay.
Unless I want them to review my plan. So to me, that's just, and I know, but that's probably a lot of the fees we get are residential.
That was just more of a stipulation.
Okay,
These
so it's
are-
going to be amended to what's there?
I mean, the plan review fees for fixed is a, sorry. The plan review fees for fixed is just more of a stipulation, so if they had complicated, any one of these, if for some reason, it's just more of a note to be aware of.
So that's my question, is it amending the current $100 that's
No.
stated? No,
Nope.
okay.
No, it's not. So currently we do charge a $100 fee.
Mhm.
And then whenever there's plan review, it's always over $100.
Okay.
That's so if it's not, it would fall into then the fixed fee category. Like if you're getting a water heater replaced, that's a fixed fee. But if you're adding, air intake, outtake, vents, adding, substantial work, you're doing a basement remodel, the plan review is typically always over $100
Okay.
at that point.
So the second part of that, where it says building permit fees for all other work is based on valuation, to me, that implies all of those listed on the left-hand side are excluded from valuation-based fees. Is that correct or no? Because you're saying all other work is subject to valuation fees.
Right here. So I think what you're saying is that the column that says proposed amount should just be, it's just notes.
Oh, okay. So
Yep.
it's not the actual, it should be
Yeah, it's
labeled
just-
notes instead.
Yep, it should just be labeled
Okay,
notes.
that's where the
Yes.
confusion comes,
Yes,
is that it was
gotcha.
mislabeled.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm fine.
Good point of clarification.
Mhm.
Bobby, this adjustment that you plan on making,
Mm-hmm.
if it has to do with liquor licenses, I wouldn't rush to
Sure.
put it together. Very few
Yeah.
facilities in town that will be affected, and I'm sure they've already paid their annual fees, so.
Oh yeah, for 2018, that's all taken care of.
2018, so
It would be for
when you find some
2019.
free time, go ahead and do it, but don't feel it has to be on next month's agenda.
Sure.
Okay, looking for a motion to, for ordinance 292, approve the fee schedule.
So moved.
Moved by Fay,
Second?
Second by Cahill. Any further discussion? All right.
Councilmember DeLuca,
Aye.
Mayor Moskowski,
Aye.
Councilmember Broda,
Aye.
Councilmember Cahill,
Aye.
Councilmember Fay.
Aye.
The ayes have it 5-0.
Next item of business is resolution number 18-02626-01, approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement for bids for 2018 street and utility improvements.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Part of kind of the work that the council has been doing in preparing your capital improvement plan was, the first project was the stretch of work along Howard and Independence. And so part of the plans include, that work as well as some work that the council had added to the project, the water main replacement between Hallgren and Pioneer, and then the drain tile work on Perkins Road and curb repairs on Maple Ridge Drive, curb and street repairs that were part of a quote project from last year.
Parkview,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. What did
Yeah.
I say?
Perkins.
Oh, Perkins. Well, I love Perkins Lane. Those people on
Sure.
Perkins Lane are right next to our Independence Street. So yes, Parkview Road. So, thank you, City Administrator. But as part of that process, the council had the feasibility report that we prepared. You had a neighborhood meeting where you walked the streets with the residents. You also had a public hearing in December. At that public hearing, you authorized us to prepare the plans and specs. Recently, you had an open house on February 20th where you got some additional feedback from the residents. So I think the council has been doing a good job in various opportunities for the public to give feedback on your projects. The estimated cost for the project is a little over 1.9 million. Now there is an alternate on the Parkview Road project where we looked at extending the drain tile up to the residents, and so you will get a price on that, but the council will have to review that with those residents to see if they would want the contractor to proceed with that work. At this point in time, and trying to get the project out for bids as soon as possible to create as much interest, we have the plans for your review tonight, and if they're acceptable, we'll send out the notice tomorrow to the local paper as well as business journals for advertising. We will open the bids on March 26th based on the resolution, and then review those bids and bring those results back to the meeting that night for your March 26th meeting. So the council did give some good feedback at a work session earlier this evening, and so we'll take that and do some additional discussions with property owners and staff. And yeah, we're looking for any questions at this time, and then eventually the approval of the resolution.
I have a question for Bobby about the cost of it.
Mhm.
So we know that we have to assess 20% through special assessments for the Howard and Independence.
Yeah, 23% depending on With just bonding for the project. It could change because we've got, Parkview as a project in there as well. where
So
I
that's my question, because we're lumping projects that don't have
Mhm.
assessments, does that raise that 20% we're gonna be assessing
No.
Howard at Independence? No.
No,
okay.
so we would look at specifically the Howard Avenue and Independence Street project.
Okay,
Even though it's tied into this bonding that includes two other projects, it would be
Mhm.
looked at individually.
okay.
And the assessment would come out of just that project. So residents along Howard Avenue and Independence Street are not gonna be assessed for the project on Parkview, or, on Maple Ridge and Parkview, or the project, on the water main from Halgren to Pioneer.
Okay,
So that
perfect.
would not be part of their assessment.
Okay, thank you.
Dan, I just want to confirm that the roughly $1.9 million is Independence, Howard, Highway 12, and the repairs to Park View and Maple Ridge, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now, when you say not including the alternate related to the drain tile, are you saying they will bid it, the connection, but if the homeowner elects to do it, it will be the homeowner's responsibility to pay that?
Correct.
Okay. And I did review drawings. Wonderful. You did a
Hey.
great job.
Oh, thank you.
A couple of things. We looked at many alternates on Maple Ridge. Full replacement of the bituminous, partial replacement of the bituminous, different sections of curbs on Parkview, et cetera, et cetera. I really don't, you just have the whole area highlighted, so how do we know specifically what you're asking them to bid? Full, partial?
Yeah, so in the one drawing, it kind of shows and it lists the curb and gutter. So I could, maybe if everyone wants to look at that sheet.
I'm sorry.
If you look,
It might have slipped by me.
C 605. That's
106.
605 is a good
Yep,
good number,
page
but
106. Never mind.
oh yeah, because you guys
Okay.
put it all
Yeah.
together.
Which is really
Yeah.
crazy, because my next question has to deal with the detail in the upper left-hand corner,
Sure.
which is why I missed the Maple Ridge, but because I was concentrated on the section. You and I talked about this the night we walked through last fall/winter, and I think it is prohibitively expensive to excavate to 72-inch depth to bury drain tile. And my reasoning is this: you're 6 feet down and you're 12 feet wide. That's a lot of earth to move, and the drain tile does not need to be at 72 inches. I think we can agree that the southern half of the state, frost footings are put at 42 inches. In the northern part of the state, they're put in at 60 inches. And you're going a full 72 in the central part of the state. I think a happy medium, you can bid it, but I think a happy medium, and I think you agree. Granted, nothing's gonna freeze at 72 inches, but nothing's gonna freeze at 60 inches either.
Yeah, and I think right, we did have that discussion after the walkthrough on Independence and Howard and talking about it. And I know the council kind of discussed it a few times in the past too. And 6 feet is kind of like a standard. And some of the council might remember when we had some questions that came up on Main Street West with, water services and the depth of the water service and how deep frost can go. And historically, 6 feet, whenever we have a pipe that's 6 feet deep, we don't insulate it. But as soon as we get under 6 feet in depth, at least from a standpoint of a pipe where water is flowing into, say like water main, et cetera, we do put insulation in. So I think the concern that the residents had was, that, if they pump it out and if we have it at a shallower depth and it freezes, well, then they're going to start pumping back onto the street again. So we did have that discussion. I think we talked about it at a staff level too, and we're going to proceed with this 6 feet, and we can certainly, talk with the contractor, the low bid contractor, and talk about how much does this save if we go a lesser depth. But we know 6 feet is, conservative, so there is some conservativeness in it, but we know there's just been some issues with that area, and if we put it at 3 feet or 3.5 feet,